and the staunchness, the entrenched need to say, no, we have it figured out up front. We don't need a striker. The club came out and reportedly said that unless there's a major injury, they're not going to spend in the January transfer window. And that January transfer window has let them down now 2 seasons in a row, where had they gone out and gotten a striker, we wouldn't be in this situation we're in. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a C+.
It's coming up to 5 years now that you've been in charge of Arsenal this week. You turn them into title challengers, but it's only that one trophy in your first season. Does this competition and where you are now with a home time to quarter-final represent a big chance for silverware?
Well, the Charity Shield as well twice, no? So it's 3. Yeah.
3.
We need more. We want more, and we want the big ones, that's for sure.
But the Charity Shield. Don't forget about the Charity Shields.
So hold up. I had only seen this comment like on Instagram, and it's really funny. And this is how molding public opinion works. I hadn't seen the reaction. It almost like he had a little laugh about it.
Yeah, little smile, little smirk.
It seems a little bit when you see it in a quote straight up, like on an Instagram page. It seems almost like, hey, we won the Charity Shield. Like, don't forget about that. And
it
was
definitely more tongue-in-cheek.
It's a completely different. And see how dangerous Instagram is.
There is an element there where he's like, but there are a couple trophies. It's not like it's an empty trophy cabinet. I feel like yes,
but I think that he has the capacity to not take himself that seriously and be like, yeah, we won this, but like next.
I also think it's a good opportunity for him to remind people that, like, hey, if I get into a final, I can win that. You know what I mean? So we just need to get through this competition, and there's a potential we can win yet another trophy.
Okay, so Christine, do you agree with what Troy Deeney said yesterday, that Mikel Arteta and Arsenal need the Carabao Cup or a trophy like this, a domestic cup trophy, more than, say, a Tottenham?
Tottenham will always need any sort of trophy more than any other team in this league, quite frankly. I think Arsenal have so many pursuits this season: Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, the actual league itself.
How much is this going to move the needle for Arsenal?
Right, and I know that Mikel Arteta doesn't want to be known as sort of this cup coach, but like, you go out to win. That's what you set out to do. They've been plagued this season with, some attacking inefficiencies, clusters of key players being injured. They have bigger things to worry about than which competitions to throw their full body, blood, sweat, and tears at. And obviously there are other pursuits, but you're not going to turn down a trophy where one is winnable.
You said move the needle. Move the needle what?
Like, if Arsenal walks away with a League Cup, is that enough to convince people calling the shots at Arsenal that that's the right, staying with Arteta long term is a right call, specifically today on the 5-year anniversary of him getting hired?
I think the same thing. We're not that far removed. In a couple of weeks, we'll be celebrating the 5-year anniversary of him winning the FA Cup. And I think that bought him time during some of those sticky moments early on.
For sure.
I think this will do the same thing. Probably not as much as an FA Cup, because Arsenal are the most winningest FA Cup club, a club that won the most FA Cups in the history. But I think this still will buy him time. It will remind people.
I feel like the conversation...
There's one thing between buy time, and then there's another thing of push him into a category of elite world coaches.
It buys him time to push himself.
I think that's the conversation. I don't think that this is a make or break scenario. Yes, he came in peak pandemic with a team that wasn't necessarily his, that was otherwise mid-table, lackluster, won the FA Cup in his first season and has propelled them forward. I think it's the measure of the team is actually in the progress that they've made, where they've nearly won the league.
Without a doubt, but nearly is not good enough.
And also, there is no progress this year, and I think that's important to note. And if for some reason he doesn't win a trophy this season, and the board or the new sporting director decides to go in a different direction, I won't look back at his time and say it was a complete failure, because we forget, when he came into this club, he changed the soul of the club. He rebuilt the club from literally the janitor to the pitch, and that was a job that needed to be done. And in many ways, he sort of fell on the sword to do that, because it took so much focus away from what was happening on the pitch. So I'm going to walk away. If that were to happen, I certainly certainly hope it doesn't, because I think there's a title in this man's career with Arsenal. I think there's a Premier League title. I think there's a Champions League title potentially in this man's career as manager of Arsenal. But as of right now, you have to win something at some point, especially with the amount of money that's been put into this project.
If Mikel
but I
Arteta
do-
walked away today from Arsenal, you would have to say it's a success because he left the club in better standing than which he found it, and I'll give him that. You also want to follow up with trophies. I think Mikel Arteta is a man that's prepared to be thrust into that different category of manager. And sure, he won an FA Cup in his first season, and all credit to that, but a couple of community shields, which aren't really finals, one of which he didn't qualify to because City won everything, so by default, Arsenal had to be there.
So in other words, qualified.
Right, yeah, but nah.
Okay.
It's weak. It's weak, right?
Sure.
He
doesn't make the rules.
No,
he just
doesn't
gets
make
told,
the
go
rules.
play this game, he goes
Sure,
and plays the game.
But it's weak, right? It's like your resume is an FA Cup in your first season, and then we talk about all of this progress, and you only have 2 community shields to show for it.
Let's say they strip City of their titles.
Right, but
because of the
finishing
130
top 4,
charges.
getting them back in the Champions League means something. It's not like he has done nothing. He hasn't been
again,
ineffective.
But we live in
It's
a
that-
results-driven business.
Right,
where
okay, so finally this season, they need to step up, obviously, in the wake of City doing as shakily as they have. And okay, yes, Liverpool have sort of taken those extra strides ahead.
Chelsea.
And Chelsea. But, like, there's opportunities to be had. Previous seasons, like City were just an absolute Goliath that were just in the way.
If City get charged with the 130 charges go through, and they lose those titles, would you consider them have Arsenal or Mikel Arteta as having won the league 2 years?
Of course.
That won't be weak. You won't go,
No,
like
you
did
won a
before?
Premier League. How could that be weak? I
mean, you just said they didn't qualify for the-
Yeah, because they didn't.
The Charity Shield. So
They didn't, because they didn't win the FA Cup nor the Premier League.
technically, they didn't win the Premier League. So you would consider that just as weak?
Say it again?
Technically, they wouldn't have won the Premier League because City won them, even though they get stripped of the title. Would you consider that?
What do you mean? No, that legally they would have won the Premier League because the top of the team is.
You understand what I'm
All
saying
right,
here,
let's.
Suze.
I ain't did my. The thing is, Liverpool would have had titles too, but we're not going to go there. What grade would you give him over the course of 5 years?
As of right now, I
As
have
of
to
right
say C+ at
Really?
best. Yeah, and
I'm surprised. I feel like that is lower than I anticipated.
And I get that, but I think you have to take how the club is performing this season into consideration. And a lot of the signs are pointing, a lot of the stats, they're not scoring as many goals, they're letting in more goals, they're not winning as many matches, they're drawing many more, they're depending way more on set pieces, which I don't think is a negative, but if you couple that with scoring during the run of play, then I'm all for it. If you're doing one more than the other, if your homestands are cheering louder for corners than they are anything else, that tells you a sign that maybe it's a little bit broken.
Okay.
And the staunchness, the entrenched need to say no, we have it figured out up front. We don't need a striker. The club came out and reportedly said that unless there's a major injury, they're not going to spend in the January transfer window. And that January transfer window has let them down now 2 seasons in a row. Where had they gone out and gotten a striker, we wouldn't be in this situation we're in. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a C+.
Rating them that low, though, presently, I think you put a lot more weight on this current season that hasn't completed than the priors then.
What did they do the prior season? They finished second? Congratulations. Where's the parade for that?
Okay, so prior to his appointment, nowhere near there. So
That's why he gets a passing grade.
consistent. Okay, no.
A C+. Hey, whoa! My mother would have put that on the fridge if I got a C+ in high school.
C+, B-. That's where I'm hovering. Anyway, let's transition
Nico,
over
no
to
thoughts?
today's.
I'm closer to B.
I think B is more reasonable.
Yeah.
He's elevated the status of the club, and that's significant for a club.
He's
like
gotten the
Arsenal.
team to come together and galvanize to play
Right.
together as a team. Yes, they have some failings,
And
but
so agonizingly close to glory. Agonizingly close to glory. Which there's merit in that, but ultimately on the CV to get that A,
Yeah, to fall
you need to win that trophy.
short right at the end is a tough one.